we wait, can you guys tell me your names and what positions you hold in the Air Force? Yeah. ¿Cómo se llama? Y ¿qué tipo de... I can't remember. No. Okay. Your names and what type of work do you do for the Air Force so I understand who's in the room? Okay. Okay. 14,000. Okay, I thought you were 10. Okay. 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 Recruiting. Who's Luis? Okay, recruiting. Okay. How many did you recruit last year? Or this year, actually, is it basically done, right? 250. And how many did the Air Force hire? That is how many? 250. Okay. 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 Mhm. Okay. Mhm. 300. Okay. Okay. Understand. So approximately 1,000. Yeah. Okay. Great. Cool. Still? Okay. All right. My name's Laura Bilazarian. I am the founder and CEO of Teamable. And over here is, I'll just go to this page. Over here is one of my co-founders, Marujan Danielian. He is from Armenian and he served in the Armenian army, was in active duty. But now he's a software developer, product manager. So going back, before I dive into Teamable is fundamentally about using data, team science, social signals, I'll come back to that, technology to put the best high performing teams together as smartly and as rapidly as possible. And so one thing I'm really excited about today is we do this for engineering companies like Twitter or Google, and we say that stuff's mission critical, right? Getting the right person with the right skills in the right place at the right time is mission critical. But for the Air Force, it's critical, right? And so we'd be interested to see what kind of systems you guys have for, making sure, if something breaks or, you need to deploy a team, how you put that together the most rapidly and the most intelligently. I'd like to pause to talk about some of our advisors. We have a very strong advisory team. We have Mary Kate from Google's People Analytics. She all day long studies team science and then runs actual tests on Google's people to confirm, if the science confirms to reality. Chris Fry built both, so Salesforce is right here. He built the engineering team there, and he also just doubled Twitter's engineering team from 500 to 1,000 in a year. And I just wanted to point out those few people. In case you didn't know, this is where Armenia is. I'm sure you guys probably did know, but I thought I would throw that up there. So at least you learn one thing from me. So when I was looking at the Air Force, and I'd be interested to see if you agree, but I kind of thought of it as a kind of a large, highly skilled organization, right? Everyone has skills, high performing skills, and they have to all work together to get projects done. So I think this might be, relevant to what you guys are doing. So when we look at engineering organizations, we think of things in terms of teams, and then in terms of projects, you guys might call them missions. And we think it's mission critical to put the right people on the right project with the right teammates, and to do that as fast as possible. But what makes this difficult now what's changed that makes this more difficult, right? You used to have people just all sitting in one headquarters. You could just do this manually without tech. So there's a lot of skills. These are all actually your guys' planes here. So there's a lot of skills that need to be covered by any one organization. People, you're buying things from Israel, from America. You have some homegrown technology and all these different weapon systems. And the same thing is the case in engineering organizations where they have multiple platforms, multiple different skill sets. The languages are changing all the time, and it's hard to keep track of. And you guys probably also have this, but again, used to have everyone all at headquarters, but now there's all different kinds of talent. There's people, there's contractors, there's people in Silicon Valley, in New York, in Chile, all over the world. And so how do you coordinate this? So these are the tools that companies are using today. I would like to pause here and ask if you guys have any tools that you use to keep track of, who knows what, who works well with whom, or who has worked with whom in the past, and how do we get these people, to where they need to be as fast as possible. Sure. Look, sure. So let's say, actually, I think maybe we'll just go into the demo. But let's say you need, an F-16 breaks tomorrow, right? And you need someone, you think it might be the software, you think it might be a hardware problem, and you need to get a team out there right away. How do you even know which of your people have that sort of skill knowledge? Do you have a database of this? Even the heads of your managers? How does that work? How do you find those people? Is it meetings? Is it calling around? Is it in sort of the managers' heads? You do have a database. certification or something. I see. And do you know how that person finds their team? Right. So it's kind of in his head from memory, some sort of past experience. Maybe he has a spreadsheet. Maybe right. Okay, that's sort of how it works with managers now. But it's becoming, um, inefficient and inaccurate because people's skills are now, and they have so many of them, and they're also what they're interested in working on is change, constantly evolving. And so we've seen when we do this with data, managers are like, I didn't, I know about that guy that knew this, and they're really surprised. Now, when you bring in these 250 new people, how do you know where to place them? Or does the need come before the recruitment? You're just replacing people that are leaving. Okay. Okay. And to know, but how do you deal? So it's really more up to the academies to deal with the evolution of technology and making sure, um, you know, you're not hiring for new skills. You're just replacing people. But I guess someone here said they do training. So how do you pick the areas on which to focus? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. That's a good question. Mm-hmm. Right, because you're a special division. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Well, I'm going to show you, how we're doing it for engineering or corporate engineering organizations, and then we're going to go into we've now. So one of the biggest problems with engineers now is there's just not enough, and so we've expanded our solution into using actually LinkedIn. How many of you guys do you guys use LinkedIn? Not too much. Okay. I did a search, and it seems that of your 14,000, you have approximately 400 people in the Air Force, the Chilean Air Force, on LinkedIn. Anyway, I'll show you something new and how we're doing it here, and hopefully it'll be interesting for you. Okay. So I'm now a manager that's trying to put a team together because I have a specific need, and on the other side of this database is my basically the database that you talked about, but it's more skill based and also some intelligence. So I'm going to create actually here I can see what I'm working on. It looks like a whole bunch of new people logged in. And, click on any project and find out more about that team. And I can look at any division or department, so I can look at engineering. So you can see our team over in Armenia. I can see what everyone's working on, and not just what they're working on, but who they've worked with. So anytime someone gets assigned to a project, it creates this internal record of what they did and who they worked with, and will also update their skills if they use anything new. Because a problem with a lot of the old databases is they just become stale as soon after you've got the data in once, and no one ever updates it. And so we're connecting that data to what people are doing to make sure that it stays updated. Let's go back. Let's create this project for you guys. I have a need, so I've titled it, let's just say, F16 software update. I don't know if that's a thing or not, but for a project lead, let's put that in. Let's search for a project lead in the project. This is, we can have different statuses here, so it could be internal, could be special black project, whatever. And we'll say F16 need software update C++. Here we'll save it, and we'll create positions for helping with the team. So we need a software engineer. We need someone who knows C++. And in the way it works is that the skills that are relevant to your organization come in a drop down. We can say whether it can be a contractor or someone who's working remotely, but in this case, let's say we need this person in Sergio, sorry. Let's put that, and let's also create a position manager. And to know F16, aviation, and let's say logistics. So now we're going to go and search for this program manager. We actually have someone that fits the position, so I actually pulled this guy from LinkedIn. This is a guy in your Air Force, and you can see are the LinkedIn. So, do you want to say something? That's a real project. Yeah, exactly. This is so people log in with LinkedIn usually, and we get their LinkedIn data. So this is actually, there's sometimes more data about people outside the company than inside, and so we're helping create parity there. So what we would do is we would just simply add him to the team. It would create an approval flow, and then we could search for a software engineer as well. And I think so we see it's scored based on their skill match, as well as maybe if they had worked with Leopold in the past. So that's how we think a smarter way to manage people, highly skilled people. Let's show some of the analytics that come out of that. So what we do here is we see all the requests for different skills, and then we see how our employee base it compares to that. So that's very helpful for being data driven about who do we create job recs for. We're seeing where our employees came from, right? What companies they came from. So if you need to double down on recruiting at certain companies, you can, and what universities. On the social side, we see what industries our employees are coming from, and then we also see these are the companies that we're most connected to. So that's basically for internal management. And as I mentioned before, one of the bigger problems is finding really good hires now that have the skill sets that you need. And so what we did is we enabled managers to look in their employees' LinkedIn connections. So for any given employee, they'll have between 200 and 500 LinkedIn connections. And what we've figured out through data science is that most people's connected to people that are most like them, right? So I'm mostly connected to women executives. right? Marujan's mostly connected to Armenian engineers. We did the test scientists at Google, and they were mostly connected to other data scientists. And so it's a very powerful way to find more, use your A players to find more A players. You know what I mean when I say by A players? A players means like your top talent. And we say A players like to work with other A players here. So I have 100 people logged in here. I'm going to search for an engineer. Actually, I'm just going to search in Chile from my own connections. And do you have a question? We Go ahead. Sure. Yeah, sure. So you don't need LinkedIn at all to use what I just showed you. You can just have people type in their skills. But in order to recruit using the networks that your top people have already connected to, in this case, it's not as relevant because you just like that. But here, 90% of people are on LinkedIn. Russia, same. So it's a pretty global um, thing. But to use the first system that I just showed you, you don't need LinkedIn at all. You just need to understand what are my what are the skills that matter. Have your employees fill out a very simple survey when they log in. How we can use connections to find people. So we have 150 people logged in with LinkedIn on the back end here, and I'm going to search for people in Chile just to see what comes up. Of course, we don't have that many results because we're not we don't have a lot of people from Chile there. But one thing that is worth noting is this is one of the top engineers in and so he's connected to a very talented person in Chile that is visiting MIT. And so if I were to just look in my top people's networks, I tend to find other top people. Or if you look in your networks of people in the Air Force, you're going to find people that are more likely to want to join the Air Force. And so that's how it basically works. Let me show you a few more searches so you can, because we don't have a lot in Chile, but this guy runs Android business development at Google, and this woman also runs business development for Google Wallet. And without even putting anything in the search box, any terms in the search box, I'm getting mostly high-level people that do business development, right? So it's just showing the power of the system here. I could actually put business development in here. hmm These are two real people, Serge and Peggy. I told you what they do. They've system. It's looking just in their networks, their first degree connections, um, for people. Say we wanted to hire a business development person ourselves. So it's looking for who they're connected to, and it's rating these people by number of connections to my company. So that's by likelihood that they would like to join my company. So say you have 14,000 people. say you knew that someone, for your F-16 team, right? You could see that they were connected to these people, but they were civilian. That's a good target to target because he's going to want to work with his friends. He probably has a similar mindset, and you're to recruit him. I don't think we're gonna get on LinkedIn. I don't think we're connected to anyone. And besides, it would be like this, right? Audio, like that, right? Uh, yeah, we're not. I'm gonna try. Yeah, that's not really. So we have someone who. I just don't think we have anyone connected to you. I can show you what you look like on with my company, right? So it's predictive for who's likely to join your company, right? For any given company, yeah. So yeah, if we, all right, let's type in Chilean. So 108 people on LinkedIn, and we don't have. Have you guys never looked at this? Yeah. So we don't have to connect. So it's just not gonna work for us. This guy, is that you? So you're the most. This is connected to me. So we're the most closely connected um, in the world now. Because of social media, you know, it used to be 6 degrees of separation. Okay, I mean that's basically, the meat of the presentation. No, it's because of who my networks are, right? Like we don't. So I'll show you. If I put software engineer in Armenia, right? I'm gonna have a lot of results, right? And this gives me transparency into who engineers are in Armenia, and we've hired from this without my having to go to Armenia, without anything, because I have a lot of insight not into just who the software engineers are in Armenia, but who are the best ones because they're connected to the talent that we already have. But our networks don't interact with Chile much now. Yeah, so and actually, it's actually the idea originally came from the Armenian team in Armenia, but we looked at all this data out there now about people, and we also all had worked in high performing teams. I'd worked in investment banking. He built software on chips, and we had always noticed that there was like, if you just form teams a little bit better and a little smarter, that you would get much better results, right? 10 times greater results. And so we thought we could build sort of the Google of teams, where you could put in any skill you needed, and we can bring you back not just people that had those skill sets, but that were most likely to work well together, and into the real world, and realize we could do this on a company by company um, basis because people are telling every day by who people connect with, they're telling you what they want to do with their life, right? And they might not even know. And so if you hear that, you can really, use data to just put people in a better place to succeed. Do you want to say anything about the original idea? That's good. All right. Cool. let's go drink. Everyone understands that, right? Sure. Sure. It depends on the size of the company, but for a mid-sized company like that, we would charge basically $1,000 per person per team former per month. Yeah. So your program manager, we usually sell the program managers, people like that. So they would have their database of people and use this to put together as well as teams. So you can per month per user. No, and that's putting together teams. Yeah. Yeah, it's just whoever your managers are, essentially the equivalent of managers or is there anything what? Yeah. There's usually the ratio we usually are 7 team formers per 100 employees. You know, usually once they start using this, the managers, go down, right? The ratio of managers to employees goes down because it's easier to manage. But yeah. All right, guys. Marouge, is there anything you wanna add? Oh yeah, if we were to give you this, it would be your own database. No one else would look at it. If they tried to, we'd kill them, kind of thing. So, all right, all right, guys. Thank you. Thanks for paying attention and interacting on Friday at 5 p.m. What time is it in Chile? Same? 5 more hours? No. Really? Okay.